Hello again, welcome back to the Game of Choice. My name's Mel. In the last video I was doing an overview of how the download or the remembrance that I had about us all becoming that which we already are. And the process of becoming that which we already are is that of deprogramming the mind, which is the virus. The mind is the matrix. So, just to give a quick overview, our mind is comprised of all sorts of programs, many programs. And it's those programs that create the frequency within us that then project through our lens and create the version of reality that we are experiencing moment to moment to moment. So, these programs are largely comprised of belief systems, and these belief systems are developed throughout our lifetime. The birds are here to join us. They're developed throughout our lifetime via general matrix programming, so the institutions and the constructs within here, education, religion, medicine, etc., and also largely by our past experiences. So things that we've experienced in the past that predominantly make us feel uncomfortable or unsafe or induce some sort of trauma response, which is then held energetically within the body and within the DNA, and affects it. It creates a belief system. So I'll give an example. So many of us, let me just try and think of a good one that's simple. Day-to-day choices that we're making, right? How often does our mind create a little story? Oh, well, if I do this, then this will happen. And if I do this, well, then this will happen. And if I do this, then this will happen. Now, right there, just in itself, is the illusion. Because we can't control the outside by decision making. We create it from the frequency we hold within. So 90% of the time, depending on how aligned we are, of course, and how much work we've done to deprogram, these thoughts that are running through our mind are firstly based on the programming that we hold within ourselves. So they will be based on certain belief systems that generally come from some sort of fear program. So I'm at work and I'm navigating a certain situation with a bunch of people that all have their own personalities and their own agendas, right? And from a place of awareness of those, I could choose to respond to these situations in a specific way. Right then and there, I'm not my authentic expression. Right then and there, when my mind is running around in loops and thought processes that are trying to control the outcome of this particular situation based on what I believe as a human, as my personality structure, right there is inauthentic expression. And right there is the mind program at work, totally at work. It thinks it can control the outcome, which is the first line, by behaving in a certain way or responding in a certain way. That's if we're lucky enough to even be responding and be conscious of this process. A lot of the time it's unconscious reaction. And the way that I respond or choose to respond from the mind, here she comes. Hi. Yes. Over here. Come on. The way that I choose to respond, if I'm even responding and not reacting, which involves no conscious thought at all, is going to be based on the belief systems that I hold within myself, right, within my mind. So if I behave in this way, I'm likely to get this outcome. If I behave in this way, I'm likely to get that outcome, right? All of these belief systems are based on previous experience because I've experienced something like this before, right? So I'm basing my assumption or my process, my conscious thought process, on past experience, which has led to a belief system. And it's all generally about keeping us safe, right? It's generally about what is the safest option for me. So this leads us to the conversation around self-awareness, okay? So there's being aware of your thoughts and thinking they're real, like in that example of trying to control an outcome based on a set of narratives and a set of programmed belief systems that is shaping my thought process, right? So I'm in that situation, I'm not reacting, right? I'm responding, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do, but I'm still acting from a place of no self-awareness because the true self is sitting behind that, okay? The true self has no thought. The thoughts are created from the programs that we are holding within ourselves. So it gets tricky here in terms of practice. Step one in this whole process of deprogramming is becoming truly self-aware. So how do we do that? Well, we have to become the observer of our own thoughts and not identify with them. So in that particular situation where I'm responding based on a set of thought processes running through my head, if I dig deep, if I sit with that, if I listen to those thoughts and I truly ask myself, why do I think that that's true? Why do I feel that if I behave in this certain particular way, I will get the desired outcome? And if I continue to delve deeper and deeper and deeper, every time I ask why, and I get a response, I'm using my brain, my logical processing brain, to basically deconstruct and find the source of why what my program is, okay? And nearly every time you will find that the why will lead to a fear-based belief system, just about every time, okay? So what that does, that process that I've just described, this is the process I used, okay? So I would sit and observe the thoughts running through my mind. And then I would ask myself, well, why? Why do I feel that that's the way to go? What's sitting underneath that? Until I got to the belief system underneath it all. And it was always based in fear. It was always based out of lack or control or scarcity, survival, the list goes on, right? The amount of programs that we hold that are all sitting within those frequency fields of fear. Okay, so then I would ask myself, well, what does my intuition tell me to do? If I take that whole process out of the equation, right? If I ignore those thoughts and this totally what appears to be logical process going on in my head of if I do this, this will happen, if I do this, this will happen. If I take that out of the equation, what does my intuition tell me to do? And what would I do if I was making this decision not based in any of those fear programs? And that's how I started to change my reality. That's how I started to deprogram these limiting belief systems that were creating the thought processes running through my mind, influencing all the decisions I was making. So step one in this whole process, self-awareness, there's different levels of it. There's, reaction is generally based in trauma. Okay, the emotional reaction is so strong that you're not even thinking about how you're responding. You're not thinking about how you're responding. You're just reacting, right? And then there's step two, which is, I'm going to consciously think about how I'm going to respond to this, but you're unknowingly, unconsciously still being run by limiting belief systems that are based in fear programs. So step three of this is becoming aware of those thoughts, just listening to them and then deconstructing them and saying, where is this coming from? What belief system underlies the thought process that's running through my head right now, And then what would I do? What would I do if I didn't hold that belief system? What does my intuition tell me to do? And do that. And this is how we start to deprogram our limiting belief systems. It's not through just acknowledging them and going, oh yeah, that's there, okay, I'm going to choose not to believe that anymore. No, these beliefs are energetically woven through our structure, and they express that they're held within the mind, okay? So just acknowledging them and going, oh yes, I can see that there, is not going to change years and years and years of ingrained behaviour based on these belief systems. It is a very strong potency of signal, potency of frequency that we're holding that allows this process to continue. So the only way out is to reverse engineer it. And the only way to do that is through self-awareness. It's truly becoming the observer of your own thoughts, of your own mind. And it takes a lot of dedication. I describe the mind as magnetic. It just sucks you back in, just whoom, and before you know it, you've been running around in there for 10, 15, 20 minutes, and your emotional body is responding to the thoughts that are going on in your mind based on these limiting belief systems, and you've created this whole narrative that your body, your emotions, everything thinks it's already happening, right? Just purely because you're identifying with your thoughts. You think they're you. You're not your thoughts. You're not your thoughts. The being that you are doesn't need to think. It's divinely guided. Divinely guided. So this is step one. Step one, become self-aware, become the observer. There are so many people that teach this process, and it's about being in stillness. It's about sitting and being still and learning how to walk that every moment of every day. Every moment of every day, everything that you think, everything you feel, you're observing. And it takes practice. But you've got to start somewhere, right? And so when you start doing this process, don't get down on yourself if you feel like you've been sucked straight back into the cycle of the thought process, right? Like the important thing is you catch yourself, oh gee, I'm doing it again. I'm doing it again. Right, listen. Okay. And one of the things I used to say to people, and I still do, is that you can use your mind to deprogram, you can use your brain to deprogram your mind. So that is, you're using the logical step-by-step, like breakdown process, the logic, to break down this emotional, crazy little hyperactive narrative going on in your mind. Where is that coming from? What is that based in? What belief system is lying under there? Because it all comes down to the belief systems, and the belief systems are always based in fear. It's just what the human is programmed to do. Not the mind. Yeah. Okay? So see how you go with that? Step number one. Become the observer and just keep at it. And you will eventually get to a point where you are in constant observation of the self. Just a bit of a warning too, it's actually really exhausting and tiring when you start doing this, because it takes a lot of concentration and a lot of dedication. So don't be surprised if you're like, oh my God, I'm exhausted from this. But stick at it. It's not like that forever. It just becomes second nature, because it's actually that you truly are. You're just becoming that you already are. It's just that the magnetism of the mind is so strong, so strong, you know. All right, step one, you got this. See you next time.